The scream echoed down the long concrete hallway. Raw, desperate, the kind that freezes everyone in place. It came from Dorm 3B, the overcrowded unit inside the Curran-Fromhold Correctional Facility, the prison Philadelphia tried for years to keep out of the public eye. Inside that dorm, more than 100 men were squeezed into a space meant for half that number. Many slept on the floor. Some slept under bunks. Others slept sitting up against the wall, afraid to close their eyes. But on that night, the fear turned into something worse. A fight broke out, a real one, not the usual pushing and shouting. Someone had collapsed because he hadn't received his medication for days. Someone else panicked. Someone yelled for help. And the officers, overwhelmed and outnumbered, did not show up fast enough. The men in the dorm tried to carry the fallen inmate toward the door, but bodies were packed everywhere, leaving no space to move. The lights flickered. The air felt tight. The shouting grew louder. And then, right when it felt like the whole dorm was about to erupt, the heavy steel door began to open. But what stepped through that doorway changed everything. And that's where the real story begins. Long before that night, Curran-Fromhold had already become a place most people in the city pretended not to see. On the outside, it looked like any other big jail: gray walls, barbed wire, long fences stretching across a quiet patch of northeast Philadelphia. But inside it was falling apart. Plumbing lines burst almost weekly. Showers leaked. Toilets clogged. Doors jammed. And the noise, constant shouting, echoing metal, buzzing alarms, never stopped. When the jail first opened, it wasn't meant to hold this many people. Years passed, laws changed, arrests went up, and the cell stayed full, even when there wasn't space. By the time the overcrowding got really bad, inmates were sleeping on thin mattresses on the floor, side by side like tiles on a bathroom floor. The officers were tired, frustrated, and often alone. Some worked double shifts, so often that they stopped keeping track of what day it was. Inside Dorm 3B, a man named Marcus Taylor tried to keep to himself. He was 28, quiet, and stayed away from trouble whenever he could. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a loudmouth. He wasn't one of the men who stirred chaos just to feel powerful. Marcus was just someone waiting for his court date, hoping to go home soon. But in a place like CFCF, even a quiet person could get swallowed by chaos. The small moments, the low points, were the ones people on the outside never heard about. Like how the food sometimes arrived cold, or how the phones would shut off randomly, or how men who needed medical help would wait for hours, sometimes days. That's what happened in the weeks leading up to the night of the scream. Sickness spread fast in the dorms, and no one seemed to care enough or have enough staff to track who needed what. Marcus noticed things getting worse. Tension grew between the inmates. Tempers got shorter. Arguments flared faster. At night, when the lights dimmed but never fully went off, he could hear coughing, groaning, footsteps, whispers, like the building itself was sick. During one chilly evening, the cafeteria ran out of hot meals, and half the dorm received only cold sandwiches. The anger started there. Someone threw their sandwich across the room. Someone else kicked a trash can. Marcus kept his head down, but he could feel the mood changing. People were tired of waiting, tired of begging to be heard, tired of feeling forgotten. Things quieted for a while, but quiet in CFCF never lasted long. A few days later, the facility experienced a staffing shortage so severe that entire sections went hours without an officer walking through. In Dorm 3B, the men could sense they were on their own. That was when Marcus saw an older inmate collapse onto the concrete floor, shaking. Others called for help, but no one came. The man had asked for his medication 3 times that week, and it still hadn't arrived. Some inmates argued over what to do. Others panicked. Voices rose. Fear spread like wildfire. The dorm became a storm, and Marcus found himself in the middle of it. Then came the scream, the one that shook the walls, and the rush toward the door. And as the heavy steel door finally swung open, the dorm fell silent. Because the person stepping inside was not an officer. It was someone none of them expected. And what happened next would push the entire prison to its breaking point. The man who stepped through the door was neither an officer nor a medic. He was another inmate, Ethan Cole, dragged in by two guards who looked exhausted, annoyed, and completely unprepared for what waited behind that door. Ethan stumbled into the room, his wrists cuffed, his face bruised, his eyes scanning the overcrowded dorm like he had just walked into a nightmare. The guards shoved him forward, muttered something no one could hear, and then the door slammed shut behind him with a metallic thud that echoed through every corner of dorm 3B. No officer stayed inside. No explanation. No help for the man still lying on the floor. Just Ethan, confused and breathing hard, surrounded by more than 100 men who were angry, scared, and desperate. For a moment, no one moved. Ethan looked around at the packed room and said quietly, "They're locking us in. Whole blocks short-staffed. They said they'll figure it out later." A wave of shock spread through the dorm. Some inmates cursed. Others shouted. A few froze, realizing what it meant. They were trapped without supervision, without medical care, and without anyone watching to make sure things didn't fall apart completely. Marcus stepped back until his back hit the wall. He wasn't afraid of Ethan, but he was terrified of what might happen next. A room that overcrowded, that stressed, that unguarded. It was like a match dropped in dry grass. The low moments came fast after that. A group of men rushed back to the collapsed inmate on the floor. Someone checked his pulse. Someone else tried shaking him. A third person yelled, "We need help. He's not waking up." Ethan moved closer, kneeling beside the man. "He needs a nurse," he said. "Now." But everyone knew help wasn't coming. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The man remained still. A suffocating quiet filled the dorm. Even the ones who usually caused trouble stayed back, unsure what to do. The air felt too heavy, too still. But quiet in CFCF was always temporary. As the night dragged on, small arguments flared up. Someone blamed another inmate for starting the chaos earlier. Someone else got angry because his bunk was stepped on. Two men pushed each other near the bathroom area. The tension rose again, sharp and fast. Marcus tried to calm a younger inmate who looked like he was about to punch someone. "Chill," Marcus said softly. "We don't need more problems tonight." But the young man shook his head. "We already have problems." Hours later, an officer finally passed by the window slot in the door. The inmates rushed forward, shouting for help, begging for medical attention, demanding to know why no staff had entered the dorm for so long. The officer didn't even open the door. He just shouted through the slot, "We're doing rounds. Stay calm. We'll get to you." Then he walked away. That was when people began to crack. Ethan stood near the center of the room now, watching the dorm like he was trying to read every person inside it. Marcus noticed it and stepped toward him. "Why'd they move you in here?" he asked. Ethan hesitated. "Because something happened in the other dorm. Something bad. They didn't want more eyes on it." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "CFCF is hiding something," Ethan whispered. "And they don't want anyone talking." Before Marcus could ask again, a loud crash exploded from the far corner of the dorm, metal slamming against concrete. Two inmates were fighting, hard, shoving each other into bunks. Someone yelled for them to stop. Someone else cheered. Others backed away fast, trying not to get pulled in. The fight grew bigger when one of the men grabbed a metal food tray and swung it. Marcus saw the tray flash in the dim light. He tried to move out of the way, but people were pushing from every direction. Ethan shouted, "Back up. Give them space." No one listened. The fight turned into a full brawl, bodies slamming, fists flying, shouts echoing through the overcrowded dorm. The men on the floor jumped up, those on bunks ducked, and the chaos swallowed everything. Marcus pushed through, trying to avoid getting hit, but before he could escape the crowd, one of the men slipped, grabbed Marcus by his shirt, and pulled him into the middle of the fight. He stumbled. Someone swung. Someone screamed. And then, as if the entire room erupted at once, the alarms in the hallway began blaring. The sound sharp, loud, and urgent. The door didn't open, and the dorm was now completely out of control. The alarm kept blaring. A harsh metallic scream that bounced off the concrete walls and drowned out every voice in the dorm. Red lights flashed through the small window in the steel door, but still, no officers came inside. The men were trapped in madness. Marcus struggled to stay on his feet as the crowd surged around him. Someone shoved him from behind. Someone else grabbed his arm. He couldn't even tell who was hitting who anymore. The brawl had grown so wild that it no longer had sides, just fists, fear, and desperation. Ethan forced his way toward Marcus, pushing bodies aside with his shoulders. "Get to the wall," he shouted. Marcus tried, but another wave of men crashed into him before he could move. He felt the sting of a fist graze his cheek. The room felt like it was spinning. The noise got louder. Men were yelling, cursing, shouting each other's names. A bunk shook so hard it nearly toppled. Someone threw a shoe. Someone threw a food tray. The sound of metal hitting concrete cracked through the air like a gunshot. But then, something even worse happened. The collapsed inmate who had been lying on the floor all night, the one no one had been able to help, suddenly gasped. It was loud enough to cut through the chaos. Two inmates who hadn't joined the fight rushed over to him, kneeling beside him again. "He's breathing," one of them yelled. "Somebody help us." But the fight was too wild for anyone to hear. The man's chest rose and fell unevenly, like he was fighting for every breath. His hand shook. His eyes fluttered open for a second, and then rolled back. Marcus saw it all from where he was struggling to stand. His stomach twisted. If they didn't get that man help now, he wasn't going to survive the night. He pushed forward again, trying to break through the crowd. Ethan reached him and grabbed his shoulder, pulling him toward a small pocket of space near the wall. "Stay low," Ethan shouted. "They're gonna storm the room. When they do, you don't want to be in the middle. But that guy, he needs help." Marcus yelled back. "I know," Ethan said. His face was tight with worry. "I know." The alarm kept blaring. The lights kept flashing. Still, no officers entered. It was clear now. CFCF didn't have enough staff to control the situation. The prison wasn't just overcrowded. It wasn't just understaffed. It was on the brink of something dangerous. The low moments piled up into something heavy. The men were exhausted, frustrated, scared. Some backed into corners, trying to avoid the chaos. Others paced like trapped animals. A few just sat on their bunks, holding their heads in their hands, overwhelmed. Marcus wiped sweat from his face and pressed his hand to his cheek where he'd been grazed. His heart raced, his chest tight. He had never seen anything like this. This wasn't a dorm anymore. It was a pressure cooker about to explode. Ethan looked toward the door. "They should have been here by now," he muttered. "Something's wrong." Before Marcus could answer, someone near the center of the brawl yelled, "They're coming." But no officers appeared at the door. Instead, the overhead intercom crackled to life with a shaky voice. "All units, stand by. Backup is en route." Stand by for a dorm full of over 100 panicked, angry, overcrowded inmates. The announcement only made things worse. A group near the back of the dorm began banging on the walls, fists pounding the concrete. Another group shouted for the door to open. The fight had stopped for a moment, but the tension was worse than the violence. It felt like the air itself was buzzing with danger. Ethan stepped away from Marcus and went to check the collapsed inmate again. Marcus followed, weaving through bodies. The man's breathing was weaker now, barely noticeable. His skin looked pale. His forehead glistened with sweat. "We're losing him," Ethan said quietly. Marcus felt cold all over. "We have to do something." "We can't," Ethan said. "Not without help." A loud crash erupted behind them. The entire dorm turned toward the sound. One of the tall metal lockers, bolted to the wall for years, had been ripped halfway off its hinges during the fight. It leaned dangerously, metal screeching, swaying, threatening to fall. And beneath it, two inmates were still fighting, unaware that the heavy steel locker was about to come down on top of them. Someone screamed, "Move! Move!" The locker tipped forward. It kept tipping. And then, with a deep, terrible groan, the giant metal cabinet began to fall, fast, straight toward the two men locked in the middle of their fight.